Here I have the Anytone AT-D878UV2 Plus, and it came from BridgeCom. But what makes this radio special compared to any other radio? While of course there's no such thing as legal encryption, this thing does have the ability to encrypt. Not to mention the fact it's a digital radio, meaning that other radios that are analog only, such as the Baofengs, they're not going to be able to hear what you're saying over the air. Meaning people you don't want to hear you aren't going to hear you. Not to mention this thing has like 4,000 channels. That's 4,000 programmable channels. And because it falls under DMR, or digital mobile radio, you can do all sorts of things, like talk across the entirety of the United States of America. See, by programming in all the necessary requirements to talk nationwide, well, like I said, you're able to talk nationwide.
Okay.
And as you see, we have David here talking from New York. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's the great thing about this kind of radio too. Not only does it tell you who's talking, but where they're from, what their call sign is, and anything else that you may want to listen to. So you're not into it for the amateur radio part. But what if, like me, you didn't know at first how to program this radio, and unlike me, who has a lot of time, if you don't have a lot of time, well, that's where BridgeCom comes into play. BridgeCom is willing to program all of these radios and give it back to you. They also do other stuff like hotspots and stuff like that, but I haven't fully tested that out yet. And if you say, well, amateur radio is not for me, well, that's fine, because this is still a great little tool. So yeah, you're not into amateur radio, but you are into scanning and listening to everything going on in your area. Luckily, this thing still has what is called a VFO, basically frequency mode. What I'm going to do right now is go ahead and go to scan, and once I start scanning, it's going to start scanning through all these frequencies. And if it picks up a single digital frequency, it'll tell you the talk group that they're talking on, the frequency that they're on, and it'll actually pick it up instead of sounding like this. Now, of course, this is going to have a nice, crisp, and clean sound whenever it comes out with the digital noise. Now, with the VHF, UHF, FM, it's going to sound just like any other VHF, UHF, FM, except for the fact that this thing can get really loud, making it good for my backpack while I go hiking around Ohio. So the fact that it can scan FM and digital all the way from 136 megahertz up to 480 megahertz makes this almost the perfect scanning tool, especially if you're into DMR. Because let's face it, a lot of businesses and police, fire, everything else is going to DMR, if not P25. So if you want to listen to police, fire, schools, buses, public works, other businesses in the area, digital repeaters for amateur radio, search and rescue teams, walkie-talkies, GMRS, MERS, the weather band, and any other governmental operations that take place between 136 and 480 megahertz, then maybe getting an Anytone from BridgeCom might be your best bet, especially since they can program it for you.